Let's kick off this series with American Horror Story Season 1, aptly titled Murder House. The story revolves around a family with a dark past moving into a house that has a tragic history of murder. They are haunted by ghosts, monsters, and their own demons. So again, this will be a comprehensive look at the true stories that inspired the characters and plot points of FX's television series American Horror Story, as well as give an analysis and review of each season, one by one. So let's start off with the true American horror stories, Murder House. One of the most infamous unsolved cases in Los Angeles, aspiring actress Elizabeth Short went missing in January 1947. Her body was found 6 days later, mutilated. She was found in 2 pieces, cut at the torso, naked, with a Glasgow smile. If you don't know what that is, think the Joker from The Dark Knight. That's what he has. The crime was never solved, although there is much evidence to support the idea that she was killed by a doctor. This allegation comes from a former police detective who wrote a novel accusing his late father of being the murderer. In the show, Short was killed by a dentist whose business was placed in the murder house. The mutilation and death of the Montgomery baby was based on the Lindbergh kidnapping, where an 18-month-old baby boy named Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. was abducted from his home in 1932 and found 2 months later dead. In the show, rather than the father being a wealthy aviator, Montgomery was an abortion doctor who, in his spare time, would conduct crude experiments trying to bring creatures back to life. Thaddeus was the name of the child, and he was killed in a revenge plot against the doctor for aborting the man's child. The doctor's wife, Nora, was helpless as her husband brought her baby back to life, but as a deformed monster. Nora then killed her husband for turning their child into an immortal monstrosity. A pretty big departure from the original, but what are you gonna do? Richard Speck was a mass murderer who systematically killed 8 student nurses in Chicago on July 14, 1966. Also featured in the hit television show Mindhunter, Speck was obsessed with proving his macho masculinity and how the only feeling he had was rage. Not only did this lead to his crimes, but to his downfall as well. In an attempt to affirm his toxic masculinity, Speck had the phrase, "born to raise hell," tattooed onto his forearm. One night, he followed a student to her home when he broke in, tied her up, tortured, and killed her. Then her roommate came home, and he did the exact same thing to her. And over again over the course of the night, all 9 women living in the house came home and were brutally attacked. While fleeing for her life from the killer, one of Speck's victims was able to escape and hide underneath the bed until he left. When the police got there, she gave a description, and they asked her if he had any other identifiable features. She noted that he had a tattoo on his forearm with the phrase, "born to raise hell." They tracked him down and brought him to justice. The very toxic masculinity that caused him to commit these heinous acts of violence against 8 innocent victims was the very thing that led to his downfall. In the show, this event was adapted fairly accurately, but they reduced the number of victims down to 2. Based on Eric Harris and Dylan Cleave, the perpetrators of the Columbine High School massacre on April 20th, 1999, 2 senior students entered class with high-powered machine rifles and began attacking their fellow students. 13 were killed, and 24 more were injured. It is quoted as the deadliest mass shooting in history, although nowadays I'm sure that title has been taken, what with another mass shooting every couple days, it seems like. This event was the inspiration behind the character of Tate Langdon, and more so used as the archetype for the school shooter to flesh out his role in the story, that of being an overly emotional psychopath, willing to hurt people because he felt like it. This season, like most of the others, juxtaposes the horrors of real life with those of supernatural origins. This is what I love most about the show, as its incredible and intelligent writing and how it is able to successfully combine seemingly unrelated story archetypes but mesh them together so well. On the surface level, you can look at this season and say the horror comes from the ghosts and the monsters, but the true horror comes from the reoccurring theme of family dysfunction. Throughout the season, we witness loving families being torn apart from hatred, murder, and deaths of loved ones, and infidelity. Lives and relationships with such promise and hope cut short by the actions of the evil and selfish, or even just fate playing its cruel game. Bad things happen, and we are left to deal with that. People do bad things, and sometimes we are the victims of this. We make mistakes, and sometimes we do not get forgiven. The ghosts of our past remind us that the skeletons in our closet cannot stay hidden forever. Even the murder house itself is a popular tourist attraction, acting almost as a symbol that the bad memories will forever stain this world. The house is a scar, but not all scars are physical. People are murdered by serial killers and killed in shootings, but families are torn apart every day, whether that be by a mistake they made or a tragedy that has befallen them. The ghosts are memories of a dark past, just like we all have. The house won't let its occupants forget, just like how its occupants cannot forget their own demons. The house is an allegory for trauma, only instead of a person with a terrible past, it's a building with frightening ghosts. This is the true horror of Murder House. So this section is kind of going to be me just sort of rambling to the camera for a little while, as it just kind of getting all my thoughts out about this season. Most of them will be good. Some of them I'll have critiques on, but, that'll all depend. So, what I thought about American Horror Story Season 1. Honestly, Murder House was incredible. I thought it was an incredible first step and a bold first entry for what became one of the most iconic TV shows in this day and age. And as I said earlier, what struck me was how the show uses juxtaposition of real-life horrors with that of fictional horrors. Like how this season cleverly uses ghosts and compares them to family dysfunction. That is the juxtaposition. So the writing, my absolute favorite part of this show is the writing. It's absolutely incredible. And I did honestly find this first season to be really scary at times. Honestly, I don't have many flaws with it. I'm trying to find something to say, but honestly, I feel like this is a show that is best experienced having known nothing about it. I mean, and plus when it's pretty much all great, there's not much to talk about. I run into this problem when I do my movie reviews on my Instagram. It's that once a movie is so good, there's not much else I can say beyond, yeah, everything's great. In terms of my total enjoyment of it, I feel like this is most likely my second favorite season of this entire show. And I'll get into all that later on, but honestly, I'll give this season a 9 out of 10. First true AHS E.A.R video. You can be sure that tonight I will be watching the first episode of American Horror Story 1984, the most recent season, which is what all this video series has been building towards, my anticipation of it, and hopefully yours. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say. Stay tuned for my next week's video where I will be talking about Season 2, American Horror Story Asylum. I have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. So, again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. End of video.